What is going on, everybody? It's great to see you. Really excited to be running our second live stream here, talking about everything related to Sweet DeFi and DeepBook specifically. We got a fantastic crew of people here that are going to be talking about all the exciting things going on in the DeepBook and DeFi world. So I know some people might be new, some people might have been in the previous stream that we had. This is our second one that's going to be focused on this. Just to give a little bit of an overview, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be getting into some DeepBook stuff, understanding, hey, what is DeepBook? What is this new capability with DeepBook margin? What does it all mean for you, whether you're a builder, whether you're not a builder? Either way, you're going to get something out of this. Separately, though, I want the the listeners here to be leaving with a couple things here. One, hey, do I understand what DeepBook is? Do I understand what DeepBook margin is? Like, what do these things mean for me? But also, let's get a little bit more tangible. We're going to be talking about some real examples here of what does it actually mean to engage in some of the sweet DeFi protocols out here. We're going to be getting some live demos here, showing examples. What does it mean to go from start to finish and engaging, getting some confidence out of all of this here. So we'll get some practical learnings of how it worked for all the builders that are going to be listening in, of like, what did we learn? How can we do things better? And then finally, we're just going to be leaving with some really exciting next steps for everyone here. But enough of me. I talked plenty already. I really want to get to the meat of some really exciting participants here, and we got three of them. So we got Aslan, we got Anton, and then we got Raj. Let's do a round of intros, give an opportunity for everyone to just kind of give a quick voiceover of who we are, what we're doing, and what do we work for. So Aslan, let's start with you.
Hey guys, I'm Aslan. I lead DeepBook, and I led the DeepBook margin launch. We are excited about the growth that we've seen with margin so far. I'm excited to talk to Anton from DeepTrade and Raj from AlphaFi, and discuss the types of integrations they're doing. A lot of cool upgrades on the DeepTrade side of things. I saw a lot of cool new features launching recently. Super excited to dive into those as well. And and we can probably talk about a little bit about what's next for margin and what are some near-term things that are coming online.
Yeah. For anyone that is excited in any way related to Sweet DeFi, Aslan is where you want to start. He is like the DeepBook mastermind behind everything that's working in the back end. He's the reason why we've been able to grow so much, and I'm very, very happy to have him here. Let's transition over to Anton from DeepTrade. If you want to give a quick intro.
Hey everyone, my name is Anton. I'm a core builder behind DeepTrade. We are building a trading platform on Sui, which leverages DeepBook spot and margin trading. So we are a platform which allows you to trade spot, trade with leverage, do swaps across all liquidity venues on Sui, as well as provide liquidity to the DeepTrade Earn, which is based on DeepBook margin pools, and earn yield passively. That's it.
I love it. So much stuff available in such a short period of time. Like, really, you guys have been moving really quickly. Raj, let's go to you now. Let's love to hear an intro. What have you been working on? Like, what's going on in your world?
Hey guys, Raj here from AlphaLand, AlphaFi. So basically, I have been building. I'm founder of AlphaFi and AlphaLand. Been building in Sui for the last 2 years. Love Sui, and Sui is throwing us so many new innovative primitives that we are scrambling to build more and more. So DeepBook is something that we recently fell in love with. So happy to share more about what we're planning, what we're thinking, what we already built on DeepBook.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, as you guys can clearly see, we got a rock star crew here. Again, emphasizing the idea that whether you're new to DeFi, whether you're an experienced builder, whether you're an experienced trader, doesn't really matter. We're going to make this a useful session for regardless of what your background is. But let's start with kind of some 101 stuff. So for everyone that was in the previous stream, you got a little bit of some early context on margin more broadly, but even like the goal here is to make this super, super simple. And so Aslan, let's start with you. So if you were just going to explain this to, let's say I'm completely new to DeFi, let's say I'm even scared of like what DeFi is, what DeepBook is, what margin is, like all these concepts are just overwhelming to me. If you were going to go through and explain, hey, what is DeepBook? What is DeepBook margin? Like, how would you go about that? Like, what's that simple explanation that we can go for?
Okay, well, let's start with like an everyday person or anybody that has maybe some slight interest in trading or is interested in asset accumulation. You you can use DeepBook as the central limit order book. It is the liquidity layer for Sui, and DeepBook facilitates a lot of the trades that we currently have in Sui DeFi. A lot of it is passive through aggregators, and some of it is also active, like through the front ends powered by DeepTrade, for example, where you can go in and directly place orders on the central limit order book, whether they're limit orders or market orders. Now, what does Margin enable? Margin is a native leverage functionality. It is built as a primitive, a financial primitive, and the idea is simple. You simply borrow funds with your position as collateral to increase the exposure that you have in your position. So you can do like 5x long or short on Sui, and essentially, make a bigger win if the price action goes in your direction, or obviously you could take an L as well if the market decides to reverse. But the key here with margin is there are two parts to the system. One is the margin pool itself and supplying and withdrawing from it. Users can participate in DeepBook Margin by just supplying capital to the margin pool and earning a yield from the traders that are borrowing that capital to take advantage of the leveraged trading on DeepBook. That pool also earns a yield from liquidations, and it creates this a little bit higher risk, higher reward type of pool, and it's essentially a different risk profile investment for users that want to just park their capital somewhere. So it's important to kind of recognize these two components and how they're built to be composable. You have one side that is essentially providing counterparty capital, and the other side, the retail users themselves that are borrowing to actually place these leveraged orders. And that is essentially what we have now for DeepBook and DeepBook Margin.
Got it. I'm going to extrapolate this out as well to talk to specific audience as well. Like when I hear from a builder perspective, I think what excites me is this idea of composability, right? So where DeepBook maybe has started on this idea of just focusing on liquidity and providing a central liquidity offering, now we're adding kind of plug and play capabilities, whether it's margin or other things in the future. We're providing more of this broader platform offering to make Sui DeFi successful, making projects like DeepTrade or AlphaFi or anyone in the Sui DeFi ecosystem able to add more capabilities quickly through composability. That's something that excites me on a builder side of things. From a trader side of things, naturally, I know that if you compare spot or margin, like there's some levels of complexity that come into play. And this is why our demos exist here to really, take this next step in terms of learning more about finance, learning more about maybe more complex use cases. But I think what is very exciting is that a lot of the stuff on the builder side do help to make this user journey a bit more simplistic, I would say, and make something like margin for maybe me or someone else that might be new to the DeFi side of things, make it a little bit less scary. Would you generally say that a lot of the things kind of on the back end help to service this idea where, hey, I'm new to DeFi, I can still engage in something like margin?
Of course. What might be challenging with margin if you're trying it for the first time, it is a little bit different than what you might be used to on a perps exchange, for example, where everything is just self-contained. But margin really behaves and works in the same way, and it's just the mechanism for borrowing and the underlying capital that you're trading is directly the spot asset itself, rather trading against an oracle and in a direct counterparty. On the composability side, if we think about it, DeFi and blockchains and L1s, they were designed to be extremely composable. And the more that we can do in making our different financial primitives composable, the better we can create opportunities to build unique experiences for users. At the end of the day, the yield is just retail users doing some activity, and that yield is just being distributed to the DeFi ecosystem in one way, shape, or form. And if we make our financial primitives very composable, we allow that distribution to happen more efficiently. So you are able to kind of create like, looping the yield bearing token is obviously a very different type of investment than just directly investing into the margin pool, which is a totally different type of investment than trading against the margin pool. But we can allow for all of them as long as the primitives are highly composable.
I like it. I like it. I like what we're balancing here in this idea of like more and more capabilities with still maintaining a commitment to this idea of the user and like the ability to maneuver and just feel pretty safe, I would say, engaging in different components of finance. Because again, for a lot of people here, a lot of people that are newer to finance, like this can be a bit overwhelming. So, with that, I know, and thank you, Aslan, for really digging into this. I think this sets a good framing of what is going to be a really interesting conversation related to, finance on chain and like a lot of the components of what DeepBook and some of these fantastic protocols are offering here. So, with that, I do want to kind of get into with our really exciting audience, different participants that we have here with Anton and Raj. Would love to understand a little bit more in depth about what each one of you guys are respectively building. What's like the TLDR of like this the protocol that you've built, and how does DeepBook/DeepBook margin kind of fold into how this works and like what makes each one of you guys special? Maybe Anton, we can start with you.
Sure. So I will start with the last one, like what DeepBook infrastructure, margin infrastructure, for instance, makes it special for us, for instance. And I'd like to talk about the user perspective from this side. So let me try to explain this. So on a surface level, DeepBook infrastructure means better liquidity, which means no liquidity fragmentation and all that kind of stuff. But what I believe, it also solves a different problem, and the problem is vendor lock-in. And let me try to expand here. So we are in a bear market right now, and there is a lot of like apps, products, and all the stuff like shutting down or going offline and etc. And we saw that like in the past. So in isolated market, like if some app goes down, your funds are effectively like trapped unless you know how to interact with the specific smart contract and so on and so on. What DeepBook like changes here, and what is different here with the DeepBook infrastructure, is that user positions are live on chain. And there is already a lot of existing partners who integrate DeepBook margin infrastructure. That all means that, let's say, if you want to go, if you open a position on one app, like another partner, and suddenly they go offline, you can already close this position on another platform, let's say on a deep trade, and trade there like seamlessly. And I believe this is important for the users who trade with like a huge chunk of their like life savings or their portfolio, because the confidence that they can easily like switch an app and trade somewhere like else that integrate, the app that integrates the DeepBook margin is gives them the confidence of that they will not be lost, and they don't need to learn how the smart contract works and all the stuff. We saw it, like I'm in the space for a while, and I saw a lot of people like stuck with it. So this is what changes for like in comparison with other protocols. And for deep trade specifically, we integrate DeepBook Spot like back in a while, like in the last year or something, and we were launching with DeepBook margin at the day of the launch. We provide different set of tools and instruments for the traders, like kinda trying to achieve the same level of experience for the traders as they can get on a centralized exchanges, with a different set of tools, from like limit market orders, different order types for both of them, like EOC orders, FOC, and etc. And also, like for the margin specifically, we integrate a take profit and stop loss orders, which allows you to like set a different risk levels or different like levels of price where you want to close your position, either it will be in a profit or in a loss. So all that stuff like is possible right after we integrate DeepBook margin. Yeah, I mean, I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
It does. It does. And one quick follow-up, and I'll ask this for both of you guys, but like, what have been some of the learnings that you've seen more on the user experience side? Like, as you guys have started to solidify, whether it's things that you think have really worked well, or like things that you're kind of excited about continuing to refine now that you're getting some user experience and user feedback.
Yeah. So sorry, Rash, if I interrupt, but I mean, there is like two things. First one, and what Aslan was talking about, like initially margin and perpetual experience are different, and many people like never tried a margin before. Even I like tried like margin trading last year or on some like centralized exchange and so on. I mean, but before I was trading like perps and spots and so on. And what is the challenge we see right now is, I mean, our own challenge at DeepTrade is how do we make like a margin trading like the same level seamless as you can get on a perps, for instance. And I mean, and that kind of continuous process where we improve things and we gather feedback from the people and from the traders who trade on our app. So, and it's like high level goal here is that. And second thing is, I mean, the first 2 weeks after the launch, we definitely spend on fixing a lot of like UX flows that we had, because trading is kind of very individual like process, and everyone, I mean, like a lot of people have their like behaviors, trading behaviors, like they all very, very different things. And we kind of had our own assumptions when we built this on how the people gonna use it, but we have to adopt our application to a different set of behaviors, how people use it actually. So this is kind of like a challenge we had like 2 weeks after we launched the margin trading.
Yeah, I do really appreciate it. And I think this is something that's probably going to be shared between all three of you, but like margin is just a completely different use case. And it has its own set of considerations of like, how do we actually need to think about the user at the end of the day? It's one thing for the application to work, but it's another thing for people to feel comfortable, right? Like this is part of why we do streams like this. This is part of why we're separately looking at a lot of different marketing content to just like further educate and make people feel comfortable in finance. Like finance is not the easiest thing to jump into cold. And so learning and going through these sessions, like the aspiration is that education is going to be a core part of what all of us here collectively are doing related to just making people comfortable with finance. But with that, Raj, I'd love to go through the same exercise with you. So, what is going on in your world? Like how is DeepBook and DeepBook margin like tie into what you guys are currently doing? And then we'll follow it on with like the question related to user experience and learnings that you guys have had.
Okay, so I'm going to take a bit of time, probably a few minutes, but so we are a product focused guys, right? So we only try to make it very, very easy for users. And when DeepBook came along, it was like, what is this? Okay, so this is I don't understand this, right? So I've been using DeFi for I made all my money or whatever in DeFi only. I've been using for multiple cycles. So what is this thing that these guys are bringing, right? So that's what pulls Sui. That's what makes Sui so much better than other chains, right? Because you're always innovating, right? So what I try to understand is basically, okay, there is an order book, there is a buy, there is a sell, and then there's an online matching engine. That's what is DeepBook all about, right? Nothing like this exists in terms of fully on-chain anywhere. So that's a simple primitive. Now, on that primitive, you can build so many things. We can talk about them. That there's no limit to it, right? So, okay, now these guys have built margin. What is margin, right? So then I said, okay, what is margin, right? So I am long on Sui, but I want to go. I have $10, but I want to kind of go long $30, right? So then I can basically 3x long on Sui. That's margin basically for you, right? So as a user, if you're a DeFi user, you want to just use a DeepBook margin, then you can do that. Okay, you are not new to DeFi. You're new to DeFi. You don't know what they're talking about. So what do you do? Which protocol do you choose? Would you put money in Alpha Land? Would you put money in Sui Land? Where do you put your money, right? So what do I do? all you have to do is just deposit into DeepBook Vault. Okay, because now that liquidity will be used across all the protocols, right? So that basically makes it easy for people. You don't want to long or short. You want to provide liquidity in a safe place that is used by all protocols, where you are not exposed to different protocols risk engines, because the liquidations and everything is taken care by DeepBook itself. The matching is done by DeepBook itself, right? So that is the kind of thing that helps the users, right? The margin, right? Okay, then we started thinking about, okay, what can we do? Like, what do we do in this, right? So then overall, what when I thought more about it, I felt like, okay, there is DYDX, there is GMX, there are multiple uh, things. What's the difference here, right? So because they're all siloed, right? They have each one of them their own liquidity engine, their own liquidity. But now with DeepBook, we can build a DYDX or even Hyperliquid, anything like that, using the liquidity that DeepBook provides, right? Even non-native DeFi users, institutions can provide liquidity to DeepBook, and then we can build just applications on top of it that can have scale, right? Imagine building something like Hyperliquid from scratch. If you're doing it on any other chain, you need to have so much of liquidity. You need to have a robust engine, right? But what DeepBook does when it fully flourishes is anybody can build kind of it's not probably a pops also you can build, but you can build something like Hyperliquid with scale on DeepBook without having all the liquidity issues and stuff like that, right? You can easily plug in UI and you are more product focused, right? So that's the power of DeepBook dot where we saw. And another thing that came to my mind is basically uh, every time now we are thinking, okay, what is our development is protocol focused, right? Okay, alpha land, what do I build on alpha land? What do I build on status? What do I build on bluefin, right? So instead of that, what DeepBook does is basically think in terms of the user's perspective. Okay, a user has an account in Sui. Now, what will he do with this account, right? Can he can have a single account, single margin account, can use it across different lending protocols, can use it across different protocols. So that is the kind of thinking that we are going through to understand and build on DeepBook, right? Because it is now changing the primitive from protocol to users. So that's the great thing about DeepBook. That's innovation that, so these things are basically what DeepBook is doing is bringing us very close to TradeFi in a much more efficient manner. But now people in DeFi are used to a different mechanism. So now we need to unlearn what we have learned and then learn TradeFi stuff in a more efficient manner is what we're doing with DeepBook, right? So that's what excites us. That's the design space that we have, right? So in
Yeah.
Alpha Lend, what are we doing? Alpha 5, what are we doing, right? We are a lending protocol, right? So we want to kind of build lending primitives. We want to build strategies on top of it, right? So what we have built right now is not yet live. It's on right now. We're testing it. It's on staging. What we're doing is basically you can supply to DeepBook Pearl directly on Alpha Line, and you get a DeepBook USDC. Okay, and you can take that and you can use it as collateral on Alpha Line, and then you can borrow against it, right? So basically you don't want to kind of you just want to supply to DeepBook and be with it. You can just supply to DeepBook. You earn the yield. Now that liquidity is being used by all the protocols or whatever that is building, right? On top of it, you want to use it as collateral. That's what we enable it on Alpha Land. Okay, that's the easy unlock. So you can just basically supply that DeepBook USDC and then you can borrow against it, right? That way you're earning yield on the underlying DeepBook, and then you're also using it as you're putting a collateral to work, right? So that's something that we've unlocked. That's a basic unlock, right? Then what other things we're building, right? So we want to build basically 3x long or short. We already built using Alpha Land, but we kind of thinking of moving it to DeepBook, because with this now I can do limit orders, right? I can say, okay, at this point close it, right? At this point take profit. All those things can be built using the order book that DeepBook provides, right? That's much more easier to build right now. So that's what we are thinking next. And then we're migrating what we've built into something like this, right? And then there's a lot of innovative stuff we can build. Like you want to build take profit slowly, or you want to trade in a range. So you provide to your vault. You are bullish on Sui. You know that Sui is trading on let's say 0.9 to 1.1. So it'll automatically trade in that range and rebalance accordingly whenever it happens, right? So those kind of strategies we are planning to build. Now, what else can you build? You can build an delta neutral strategy that can actually work in your favor by using DeepBook and Alpha Line. So there is a lot to learn, a lot to build on this. These are the basic strategies that are not very easy to build on other things, right? Especially because of DeepBook, because of composability, I do not use the buzzwords, but basically because you can plug in different aspects or different protocols on Sui with each other, so it's easier for us to build this kind of things using DeepBook and provide in one single click thing on Alpha Line. So that's what it is. What we're thinking long term is basically have one user account that is created on DeepBook and use it across all the products on Sui. And this requires a little bit more composability and integration with other products. That's where we are going. Basically, it's changed the way we want to think about a product and users, and be pretty happy and bullish about what's there. Anyway, I'm also happy because we have now probably, let's say, 6 months to 1 year time, assuming the market is bad, to build all this super awesome stuff, so that by the time market turns, Sui and DeepBook are going to be the biggest unlocks in the market that is coming, right? So that's where we are focusing right now. Now, right now we're building very small strategies that can help users, but overall we are plugging into a big system where everything can work in one single go. That's the overall plan that we have for DeepBook. Yeah, thanks Aslan, thanks Alonso for
Thank you,
being
Raj.
with us. So it's like
I
we
love
are
you
kids
guys,
with candy
Aslan,
store
just
and
like these are
we're
hard,
having
excited
fun.
bros.
Yeah, listening to Raj is like, it just like doubles my energy. Like I'm like, all right, we gotta get this deep book thing even better now.
Yeah, you got them all fired up. You got them all fired up. This is how you make Aslan like work throughout the night. So I
Let's
will
go.
say one thing that really did catch my ear, and I think this is actually applicable to both of you guys. But Raj, you specifically used the word efficiency, and even more broadly, builder efficiency is probably how I'd extrapolate that out. And I think one thing that's really interesting to me, and I think we even kind of see this in mentionings from different chat. Like I see Chundalu had actually made a mentioning of this, but specifically talking around like being able to plug and play, not having to worry about like the 101 stuff of like finding liquidity or like figuring out how to build a capability, like all the basic stuff to just get the application running and not having to just kind of piecemeal it together and spend cycles trying to figure out how all that stuff works allows like people like for example Raj to like think a little bit deeper in terms of like what is the next step for the application a lot more quickly, starting to think about like how we go beyond just like functionality of the application at a baseline, but like what is user experience like V2, V3, V4? What is capability 2, 3, 4? What do all those things collectively look like? And how do we get to that quicker? That's something that's really interesting here. So again, like I know composability in itself is a buzzword, but between that and then just like foundational like liquidity availability, like having those as like a starting point aspirationally helps really good builders like yourself like start to be unblocked and think about those capabilities of how to build these fantastic applications really quickly. So efficiency is a word that I really anchor on in this idea that on a DeepBook side, definitely we want you guys to be successful. Like we want you guys as really strong entrepreneurs to go deeper and figure out how to go next and like how to like go beyond like solid like foundations to build fantastic applications. And so you starting to articulate some of the vision of where you want to go like is exactly why Aslan's happy, because he's building the foundation to help it so that you guys can fully pursue all the things that you guys want to pursue. So shared excitement across the board, but Raj, really, really well said. Before we get into what will be the next section with demos, let me just open it up to the floor. Aslan, based on anything that you're hearing here, any things that you want to maybe voice over for the audience here, whether they're a builder or a non-builder. Otherwise, we're going to get really into the good stuff with the demos.
Listen, I'll say one thing. I'm already excited about the things that we can build with the current, building blocks that we have with DeepBook and Margin. But if anybody needs convincing on, why it's, why building on DeepBook is the right choice, is think about what's going to happen once we launch more of these financial primitives. Okay, and if we can figure out how to make them natively composable, then this is going to go beyond just DeepBook, beyond just Margin, and it's going to start entering into like a whole new, form of finance, in my opinion. So love to have these kinds of guys in here that think outside the box and get creative with their solutions, because I know they're going to really take advantage of the stuff that we're going to build and ship for DeepBook.
Amazing. Well, so with that, let's get into the good stuff and let's get people to really experience like these applications, because frankly, I'm really excited to share this with the broader audience here. And let's go in order. So Anton, let's start with you. Would love to maybe spend like 10, 12 minutes, I guess, for you to just kind of walk through how does this work? And again, let's take this from the perspective of both calling out like where does a builder need to pay attention on things, like what are learnings that you've had there, but just as important and really being explicit, like how does a user think about this? How does a user become really comfortable with understanding what does it mean to engage in the protocol and specifically margin components of it?
Sure. Okay. Yep. Let me like share the screen.
Awesome. And while he's doing that, just as a heads up, I am keeping an eye out for chat and whatnot for any great questions. I've definitely seen a few good ones come in, and we'll make sure we'll try to answer as much as we can in the time that we have. And you're good. I see it.
Cool. So this is like a deep trade margin page where you can trade with a leverage. If you are not familiar with trading with leverage or like with trading with leverage on deep trade specifically, you can basically run the onboarding, which we like created to simplify the experience and make it as simple as possible to onboard the user. And you can see here that on top right corner, I have, the balances of my wallet shown. And the next thing is the margin manager balances. So think of it like as your trading account, like which is separate from your wallet balances. And I already have their balances because I have an open position already on deep trade. The next thing is the part where you can place an order on margin. You can set up either like buy or sell. I mean, depending on whether you are going long or short. You can also specify the leverage which you are going to use to execute the trade. And you also, one of the things that we kind of take a lot of efforts to deliver is, and we believe this simplifies the experience by a lot, is after deposit feature, which allows you basically to skip the step of depositing into your margin manager, or let's call it trading account, and like allow you to after deposit seamlessly when you place an order and open the position. So yeah, and you can here like choose an whether you want to market or limit order, whether it would be buy or sell, but let's keep it with the buy. And yeah, let's set up some amount for my trade. Let's say it would be let it be like this. And all I have to do here from now is just to hit on a button like long. So I'm going to long SUI USDC here. And this is a confirmation pop-up, which you can hide for the next trades if everything is clear for you, which shows you briefly the information, what is going on when I click long, like what's actually happening. You can like review all the details by yourself before you place an order. You can see, I mean, the most I guess important thing here would be to see the like estimated liquidation price after this trade gonna happen. So as you can see, it's 0.16. So yeah, I mean, you can basically review all this stuff and click on long. Yeah, and right after my position would be like right after I confirm the transaction in the wallet, you can see that my position actually changed, and now my total position in USD would be like $200. You can see that I have no open orders because I've entered the position using a market order. You can see the Oracle price, which is different from the order book price, and it's provided by piece. And you can see estimated liquidation price, the same as we saw in a pop-up. You can also, let me finish this onboarding, like we can, yeah, so yeah, this is my P&L of my position. And the margin level basically tells you how healthy your position. And the last two things is the repay and close position. So let's say if you'd like to close your position, you can click close, and basically your position would be closed and your assets would be, your debt would be repaid automatically. And for the repay action, you can just repay your debt for the position, because when you open a position on margin, you have to provide collateral and you borrow some assets when you trade with the leverage. So this effectively, basically close position is repaying your position debt and withdrawing the position assets from your margin manager, or let's call it a trading account. So that's pretty much it for the trading page. On a close position, you can see that I might not have like fully funds on my margin manager to repay the debt, and I could enable swaps for the repayment, and that would basically swap some SUI to USDC to repay the debt. And also I also can check mark use SUI from the wallet, which in case I don't have enough SUI or USDC on my margin manager will deposit my SUI or USDC to repay the debt on the position closing. Yeah, repay pop-up is pretty much the same, but what is the distinction between the close and the repay pop-ups is repay and it's just repaying the debt and does not close your position. So you don't have like a borrowing interest accumulation when you repay, but you still keep the assets that you have as a collateral. Yeah, and outside of this, you have an open orders. Let's say if I will, let's say if I want to, right now I'm in a long. So if let's say I want to close my position, I could set up a limit order for sell SUI, and the order will be appeared here. We have also an order history, which allows you to see all the history of your orders and the trade history for the trades. What also one of the most recent features that we added is setting up take profit and stop loss on margin, which allows you to set up either a take profit or stop loss or both of them. So let's say I want to set up a take profit on let's say 1.2, and let's say I want to sell 50 percentages. Okay, let me 50 percentages of my position size. All I have to do is set up it here and click confirm, and then confirm it in my wallet. Yep, and you will see that the take profit and stop loss, the take profit will be appeared here right inside your position. If I would decide to add more take profits, the flow is the same. Basically, I set up some parameters where I want to close my position with a profit and set up as many as I'd like. There is like a limitation of 10 take profits or stop loss in total, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and same flow applies for the stop loss. So I could, let's say I want my position to be closed when the price, if the price hits 0.8, and let's say I wanna close entire my position at loss. So here we go. Yep, I mean, this is margin trading. You could also trade spot, whether you go from the header of the website or just clicking here. You could trade without leverage and just buy or sell assets there. Additionally to that, we have a deep trade earn page where you could provide liquidity to the margin pools. So I don't have a USDC, but I guess I could deposit some SUI into the SUI margin pool. Let's say I wanna deposit one SUI, and right after it was deposited, you could see it in my position. I already have like one SUI before I did it, and now I have two. And you can see your positions inside margin pools, your earnings, and earnings in USD. And also you could withdraw it the same way as I deposited. Yeah, I mean, you could also, like, if you wanna have any kind of fast exchange one asset to another, you could use swap for which allows you to like swap across all the liquidity venues on SUI. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate the walkthrough. This is definitely a lot of great details here. I want to make sure that we also reserve time for Raj as well. Raj, if you want to also maybe go through like a similar demo, and then we can kind of collectively discuss like the two together.
Yeah, I'm going to take very little time for the demo. So we want to keep it simple at Alpha Land. So and still in, let me know if you can see my screen.
And there you go. You're good.
Okay. So so right now what we just unlocked is you have USDC and you want to earn yield on DeepBook. This is just not yet live, so it's going to live tomorrow. So the API and all is okay. But so you can just deposit from here from Alpha Land strategies. By the way, if you have not used strategies in Alpha 5, you should try. You could get some pretty awesome, yields. But anyway, so after the shameless plug, now I have deposited into DeepBook. Now this is earning, basically this is earning a DeepBook API, whatever it is, right? Now it has given me DPUSDC also that is issued by us. And then you can go to Alpha Land and then you can supply this as collateral. You got 99.99 DBUSDC. You supply this as collateral, and then once you supply it, now you can basically you would be earning yield on it, and then you would also you can also borrow against it. So you can basically we have an LTV of 85%, which is same as the USDC, and you can borrow up to 85% of whatever you supplied, right? So what we are doing by this is just the first unlock. You can deposit into DeepBook, earn yield, provide liquidity to all the protocols to use, and then use that receipt token, which is DBUSDC, and deposit into Alpha Land, and then again use it as collateral. You could probably borrow USDC again and then supply it to the liquidity, right? So that way you are actually making your capital more and more efficient, kind of re-hypothecation of what you already have, right? So that's the first thing. So this is going to go live tomorrow. And yeah, that's the first thing. And other things, as I said, like we'll keep it. Once we have it, we can talk about them. But this is what we have right now. You can use your DeepBook vault as collateral on Alpha Land and borrow against it. So that's the first thing. We'll have this for all kinds of vaults, USDC, SUI, BTC, and all that. All those markets will live on Alpha Land, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, this is really some great depth across both of you guys. Like this is something where we can naturally go, for hours going into the depths of like each individual piece and like how we really get into like working through this. And this is naturally something where for the broader audience here, if we are looking to go deeper, like that's 100% something that we can provide. Like naturally these guys are the experts, like Aslan as well, like folds into this, and there's quite a bit more depth that we can provide here. But I also want to, expand the story here now that we've had an opportunity to look at both these respective projects specifically and how they work and like how they operate and how a user can follow along. To say like, when you were going through this, like what were some of the visions of like things that like you imagine coming next? Like what do you imagine like are some of the things that would lead to your project evolving over time? Like this is naturally the first step, and like this is naturally an opportunity to visualize the fact that like your guys' projects are growing quickly, but like what does the future look like for each one of your respective projects? Maybe Raj, let's start with you.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about this, right? So we are thinking of two things, right? The first thing, how can we make it easy for user to earn, right? Make his capital work for himself, right? That's number one thing. So you will see one-click strategies on including DeepBook and Alpha and very soon. So that's the whole point. You have one-click, you deposit, and then you're earning yield, right? So that's one aspect of it. Then second thing we are trying to think is like, what is by building this product, first of all, why user would use this instead of whatever else is there out there. Why it uses this? Because it's more safe. It's Leapbook is managing the liquidity and the risk engine, so that makes more sense. They're not trusting on protocol. Second, are we helping Leapbook grow its liquidity? Right, that's the whole point. So we want to ideally have all the USDC and Alpha Lend go through Leapbook, because that is when that liquidity will help other protocols and all that, right? So what I feel is basically, yeah, that's the whole point. I think uh, incentives. So right now, protocols like us, we don't have to compete with other protocols. We want, because the liquidity is already in DeepBook, it will keep on growing, and then we can focus on the product, how to make it easier, right? Why somebody would use Deep Trade compared to Hyperliquid? Why somebody would use real leverage instead of synthetic, right? So what is it special here? So we want to focus on that and build products like that. So that's the whole point, while making it easy for the user, different from other things, and then also helping the DeepBook to grow. Because once DeepBook grows, that's when the real unlock happens for across, not just SUI, everywhere, right? So that's the whole level. And I think incentives, then we don't have to give incentives to different protocols and users. It could go to DeepBook, and then it'll automatically organically grow because everybody's using that, and you can compete on the product. Product becomes a commodity, right? Instead of competing for the liquidity and stuff like that. That's where the future is there. So that's where we are going. So pretty happy that don't have to worry about liquidity, but you can just build what we want to build. So
Yeah.
that's
No, I like the way you frame that. It almost kind of sounds cyclical in a sense where, there's a natural like tie back in where there's a starting point on DeepBook in terms of foundational things, and then it services what are like broader DeFi projects. And then as those DeFi projects then become successful, it only amplifies what DeepBook is offering collectively to just add more and more. So that cyclical relationship where DeepBook at the end of the day is just supposed to, again, service and make SUI DeFi builders successful. And so like consistently seeing that actually play out, there's both of your guys' projects is definitely an exciting thing to see. That's super helpful context. Anton, I also want to give you some time as well. When you think about like the future, when you think about what you're excited about, when you think about what's coming next, like you guys naturally move very quickly, but would love to kind of understand like what's already on your mind.
Sure. So I guess like high level, like our mission at DTrade is to provide like instruments and tools for traders to help them like earn money, like make money on trading. And that like if we will try to split this like big mission into the components, I guess will be like one is making like interface as seamless as possible, because it allows like not only like DeFi folks to join, but a lot of like regular people, like maybe who just tried trading one time and like doesn't have like an expertise in all that stuff to trade on a platform. Another thing, another component, I guess, from this one would be to make the application itself like super. I mean, it should have a lot of like it should have less friction, and it also should be like reliable, and also it should have a lot of like speed in terms of trading, because for all trading applications, like speed on how quick you can place an order, how quick you can cancel it, how quick you can like review your position, and overall, like for the trading, speed is super important. So we double down on that stuff, and there is a lot of like some infrastructure components we have to upgrade, some like UX UI things we have to fix to make it like super fast like application, because I mean, for like even not trading applications, speed is super important. So this is kind of like two components at least I see from like high level. Yeah,
makes total sense. Makes total sense, and it's exciting to see that across both of you guys, like you're pretty aggressive, I would say, in terms of like how you're thinking about growing and growing quickly. And it's almost to the point where like we need to catch up to you guys. But I'm really impressed to see both of you guys like doing such great work in such a quick pace. With that, Aslan, I want to give you the floor as well to kind of like hit on one last point here. So like we've naturally articulated in quite a bit of depth like how to engage in different protocols, both from like taking inspiration on the builder side of things, but also just getting more comfort and familiarity from like the trader side of things. So more generally, in terms of like advice, gotchas, things that you feel like for both of those audiences, things that you think is worth sharing just as a top level. Are there any things that maybe are you're seeing collectively or you're learning as we're now live with Margin for a decent amount of time now, just things that are worth sharing at a top level before we kind of get into closing out?
Yeah, definitely tons to learn, tons that I have learned in the last couple of weeks since we've launched. One thing that I do want to touch on, and this is more towards the builders rather than traders. At the end of the day, right, in DeFi, we are building financial services that for users that are already there to consume these services. Okay, there are already users that want to trade, and there are already users that want to do all sorts of things in DeFi. Okay, and our responsibility is, okay, how do we make it so these trades happen on Sui and they happen through DeepBook? How do we make it so we figure out the trader acquisition story here? And what it comes down to is enabling new experiences. This is just the foundational stuff right now. This is just, step zero, the leverage and margin here. But we really want to get to a place where any type of trader, whether it's like a short-term, leverage trader, mid-term kind of swing trader, somebody that just, gambles with a few dollars with like high risk bets. We want to make it so those experiences are available on Sui, and we are designing these financial primitives through DeepBook to make it so they can be combined and to combine in a way to express those user interfaces and express those apps and actually attract the users. So it's vital for us, like the core DeepBook team, to also be actively working with our third-party builders and everybody else in the ecosystem, because we are learning a ton in terms of understanding what the builders struggle with, what we can help with, what the retail user feedback is, and what do we need to do to address that feedback. And overall, what is the ultimate thing, like what is the root problem we're trying to address, and are we doing it in the right way, and are we making progress? And I think we are. And with builders like Anton and Raj and others in the DeFi ecosystem and the DeepBook ecosystem, I think we're gonna really come out of this bear market as a winner.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And as you focus more on the builder side of things, I think I'll add more as like selfishly on the trader side of things. I think one thing that I would love for like the audience here to really think about is like, everyone is going on their respective journey in terms of learning and getting more familiar with like SWE and SWE DeFi, right? Understanding components of one-on-one material, understanding the depths of more advanced terms, more advanced strategies, whatever it may be. And a big component of that is education. And so this series is like really one attempt at making it so that people collectively feel very comfortable, not only being familiar with what is the ecosystem, but also familiar with the concepts and just engaging and understanding and feeling confident engaging in any component of SWE DeFi. So from an educational perspective, like the biggest thing that we can do is continue to double down and making sure that people have the resources they need. So from a trader perspective, like as you engage, as you're seeing things that don't make sense or don't work or things that you have questions on, like raise your hand. Raise your hand and say like, hey, I would love to understand in a little bit more depth, like, or this doesn't make sense to me. And like, we will look and commit to the idea. Myself leading up marketing for DeepBook, we will commit to ensure that there are the right educational resources available to you on a regular basis. But it comes from actually getting that feedback loop stood up. So continuing to have these sessions, consistently providing feedback, engaging in Discord specifically and saying, I need this, like those are incredibly helpful feedback loops for us to have, both again, from a builder perspective where Aslan is leading quite a bit of work, but then also myself on more of a non-builder perspective to ensure that everyone is kind of coming along with us on this journey and that everyone feels comfortable with the idea of finance. So with that, I really appreciate this group here. Like this was fantastic. We're going to look to continue to do these in the future as much as there's demand. But one thing I do want to call out is naturally from like an action perspective, these are just a few of the many projects that are embedded within SWE DeFi, a few of the many projects that DeepBook is directly tied into in terms of helping support SWE DeFi success. And it all ties more broadly to a broader DeepBook Points program that's running currently. And the aspiration here is that we want you to feel comfortable with SWE DeFi. We want you to have the desire to want to go and engage and learn and test and provide feedback. Like that is a lot of why this DeepBook Point program exists. And so DeepBook engagement collectively is definitely a big piece of how we think about things. We want people to provide that feedback, and we want these projects collectively within SWE DeFi to be successful. So with that, like the points program will continue to run. Please continue to explore a lot of the different protocols here. And we're very much looking forward to continuing to find ways to serve you guys, serve some of these fantastic builders that are with us today, and then consistently get feedback. Like that's the end goal in everything that we're doing here. And we're very much committed to just making SWE DeFi successful. But with that, really appreciate the time, guys. I guess one last thing to close it out is that DeepBook will be pretty present at a lot of the upcoming SWE DeFi and SWE events more broadly. We're going to be at and present at Hong Kong Web3 Festival. We're going to be present at Consensus Miami. And we're always going to be looking for more opportunities to engage with a broader DeFi community. So with that, looking forward to seeing a lot of other people there. And with that, I think we can close it out. But thanks, guys, for taking the time. And thanks for the audience here for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing everyone soon.
Thank you, guys.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.